Welcome in, folks. It is another episode. We have the high ground, Star Wars show here on the Pop Culture Universe YouTube channel. Colin, of course, joining me as always is Bogz and Soul this week. Bogz, how's it going, bud?
Yes, very good. Obviously, a lot happening in the Star Wars world, Star Wars universe. So happy to be back talking with you, wonderful people. So we're getting into games this week. We're getting into books. We're doing a little list like we always do. So yeah, always good to be back on We Have the High Ground.
Indeed. I realize a lot of this got too much lights going on here. I've been spending a lot of time in front of screens this week, and that can give you headaches when all we're doing around these days is just hitting you with the screens, you know?
I'll join you.
Yes. Okay, cool. Glasses gang. So, Soul, how's it going over there, Glasses gang?
I am excited to be talking about books, as Colin has dubbed me on another show, the Ultimate Schmodown show, called me the Librarian. So if I can speak English.
Wait, how would we say that in Spanish? Because I think that should be your...
Don't actually know.
Oh.
Let me Google that.
Yeah, well, as she Googles that, we will break into the news of the week. And to break down what's going on in the show, we're going to be doing the news of the week. And then we're going to be doing our review, our non-spoiler review of Light of the Jedi, the new High Republic novel. And then we will do our top 3 canon novels. Because, you know, there's just so many. We had to narrow it down to 3. Or else the 3 of us will be here all day long, as we usually tend to on shows. So, the news of the week. Got some video game news. As over the last 8 years, EA, Electronic Arts, has been the number 1 and only producer of Star Wars video games. Produced such games as Battlefront, Battlefront 2, Squadrons, and Jedi Fallen Order, which is one of my favorite games that they probably have ever done. And now they're not the only, person at the party. Other studios such as Massive are coming along, and they're going to be making an open world Star Wars game, which is something that I know a lot of people, Christian Harloff and a bunch of other people in the schmoes world have talked about for years at length, like how much fun it would be to have like a Skyrim type game. Bogz, I know you're not like too in on video games. It would probably blow your mind to know how much time I spend playing video games when we're not podcasting. But does this excite you? I know you played Fallen Order, so with the idea of being able to have more choices and more options, does that excite you in a Star Wars game?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I don't play games anymore is because there isn't enough Star Wars games. Like, for example, growing up, there were games out with an S every single month. Star Wars games, ranging from Lego games, ranging from pod racing games, from open world games, like literally so many different games every month. And I've kind of grown up on all of them under obviously the LucasArts banner. And then from now being the Disney takeover, we've literally just got them 4 games that you've said. Battlefront, which is arguably my favorite game under LucasArts, under the LucasArts Star Wars banner. Battlefront 2, which I quite liked, to be honest, but the story mode I thought was excellent, but very short. You can complete it in less than a day, 12 hours. So that was really short. Squadrons, I haven't really played Squadrons. Doesn't really look like my kind of thing. No real story mode adventure stuff. So I'm setting that one out. And Fallen Order, which is excellent. So that's 1 out of 4 in 7 years, where we'd get 4 games a month under LucasArts, back in the day. So so the reason why, obviously me and Colin were talking about this throughout the week, but I wasn't overly excited about this because I was super excited when EA got announced as the official partner under Lucasfilm, basically. But since they've come out, it's like I've just been constantly frustrated with the whole game thing, because that is a big part of being a Star Wars fan in the Star Wars kind of franchise. So, and then being announced that they can work with other partners now, you're thinking, I'm hoping maybe Rockstar with the whole GTA stuff, Ubisoft as well. But I'll be pleased when I see it, because I heard all this stuff before. I was excited with the EA announcement, and look what we got. We've got kind of one 1.5 out of 4. So like in terms of quality stuff. So now I'll believe it when I see it. When I start seeing trailers, when I start seeing what it's about, then I'll be excited. Up until now, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. On paper, it sounds good, but in reality, it's a different thing. So, because they've kind of lost my trust after they got rid of LucasArts. So, hopefully, they can get it back.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you there. It's going to be interesting to see with all these different studios getting a chance to play a part, how much diversity is going to come in terms of scope of games, in terms of the teams that they're going to be able to put together to make these games. And I'm a big World of Warcraft player, so the idea of something close to like an MMO where I can just go around and run around from Star Wars, it's just it feels like that's the game that feels the most Star Wars. Like you want to be able to get in your ship, fly around the galaxy, have nobody tell you where you can and can't go.
They should be standard games that we should be having
Yeah.
every month. Like you should be able to play the Mandalorian, story in a game. You should be able to, be a smuggler going to different worlds. That kind of thing. It should be just a standard game, like it always was under LucasArts. And it's so frustrating that it's just not there anymore. But sorry, I interrupt.
Yeah, and then there's like the old MMO, the Old Republic, and that was pretty fun. I know a lot of people that played that. I played it for a little while, and that's just that they just couldn't keep it going, And now with a chance to bring in different studios, Soul, you hear this news, you hear that there's games that, I mean, they canceled 3 games. They canceled your Smugglers game, Bog. They already canceled it.
Yep.
But now this is an opportunity to get new voices and new stories. So what kind of game would excite you? I hear you're a fan of the pod racing franchise.
So weirdly, I had like 2 different types of games. So I love platform games, like Mario was my shit, like growing up. And I think it's just because it's easier because I'm very, very bad at video games, but I'm also very competitive and like to win. So those combinations don't work really well whenever I do play video games because I get frustrated. I try not to rage quit, but I like those, and I like open world because I like just going off to go do my own thing. And so anytime I play a game and there's a bunch of side quests before the next level, I'm like, I have to do all the side quests. Otherwise, I'm going to miss something out before I go to the next level. And so this excites me that it's going to be open world. So it's like, oh, I can just go off to this planet or this moon, or I can go discover the galaxy and maybe find a place that I haven't heard about yet, or could be in like a book, but I haven't read that book yet, so I don't know of that planet, and you can just discover and find new things and new creatures and stuff. That really excites me.
And it's almost unfair. Like any other franchise, Boggs. Like how does any other franchise compete with this? Like you have an immense amount of content. It's endless. It goes like Legends start paying these people like some residuals that are a bit higher than books. Get them some of that video game money. But this has to be done. So I mean, Boggs, final thoughts on this. What is your number one thing? Like what would you do day one? Star Wars open world video game. You can be a Jedi, you can be a smuggler, you can be whatever you want. You could be a Sith, you could be just a good person, bad person. What are you doing?
Yeah, it is pretty much too hard to nail down. What I would like, I guess, we are kind of getting that with the Lego, in the Lego kind of world. We're all getting you can play the Skywalker saga, basically. So you can kind of run through every game, episode 1 to 9, and kind of play all the important moments. So I kind of would like that. Play all the scenes, you hear the music, you hear the characters, the voice actors, that kind of thing. Other than that, yeah, there's got like open, obviously, the kind of game that you're describing there. So Fallen Order is a bit like that, but you can kind of complete it in 2 days. It's not like a big thing that you can spend months on. In terms of the story mode, anyway, you can finish it in 2 days. But yeah, I don't know. It's too tough. I want to see a smuggler thing. I want to see an underworld thing. The lower levels of Coruscant, and going to other planets and adventures, that kind of thing. You run into like whatever Force users or any other, the Huttese people, whoever. I mean, it's literally endless. Like you're saying, the Knights of the Republic, Force Unleashed stuff. absolutely endless, and I wish they tapped into it more.
And they can bring out scripts that when they were going to do that Underworld show of Coruscant, you can bring out those scripts. You can bring out scripts of stuff when it was being sold to Disney. I'm sure there's a vault of a bunch of Star Wars stories that are no longer being looked at because Disney owns it now, and you can bring those out for a video game.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited. I know video games, they do take a long time to get together, so get those teams together, and they should be fantastic. You know what else is fantastic? A little book by Charles Soule called Light of the Jedi. Yes, Boggs, and you.
Okay.
I'm gonna give my brief thoughts. I'm gonna pass it over to you two. This is non-spoiler review. I thought this book had fantastic pace. I thought it was extremely gripping. The characters were very. All of them had this different shade of they're like Luke Skywalker-esque. All these like wide-eye dreamers who felt like anything was possible in this new world. And this takes place in the High Republic. So this is a whole new world. This is a whole new timeline. We've never explored this before. And this idea that our new, or well, who, if we're putting this in current, if we're speaking the High Republic times, the Chancellor currently is just this dreamer. And it's just this voyager of like, we just have to keep expanding and exploring our greatness and just how wide this galaxy can be. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was like Charles Soule just like really knows how to nail down the vibe of Star Wars. Every single character, you're like, yes, and for the first few chapters, you're like, oh, you son of. First few chapters, you're like, oh, this is really like some dark stuff. Saul, I see you agree with me there. Please, the Librarian, please break down your thoughts. Your first.
Wait, what, did you find out the Spanish?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
the female version is bibliotecaria.
God, I knew it was gonna be Biblioteca something.
Yeah, I was like, biblioteca is library, and I was like, it should be something similar to that. So bibliotecaria for a woman, bibliotecario for a man.
Nice. Wow.
Whoever's watching anywhere around the world, whatever language you speak, whatever native language, drop it in the comment section. What does librarian translate to in your language? Sorry, carry on.
But this was one of the only books where it was, you know, that meme where it was like, they got us in the first half, where it was like that moment of you read the first chapter and then at the end you're like, did that actually just happen? Wait, what? And then you go to the second chapter and then you're like, wait, did that actually just happen? What? And it's one of those moments where, and I think you could do this as one of where you follow the rules, and then once you become a master of the rules, you can break the rules. And it kind of broke the rules of storytelling a little bit, because you think a certain thing when you start the book, and then it changes your mind at the end of the chapter. And he does it to you a few times at the very few first chapters, and you're like, whoa. I just have to keep reading because I need to know what's happening. Who is the actual main character? What is actually going on? Because at first you think like, oh, this is the main character. We're being introduced to the story. Oh, wait, this is not what I thought it was. And so it was those moments of, yeah, this was very unconventional at the beginning, but it was hooked me right at the beginning, and I had to keep going to find out like what actually was going on.
Yeah, and Boggs, I'll throw it over to you. The Jedi. They were just so just pure. I was kind of like there's no reason for fear or anger or but when they kick in to be those heroes, it's like reading that quote from Obi-Wan, like reading about them, and this is Guardians of Peace. And we're reading it, and this is it.
Yeah, firstly, your glasses look great, Colin. I don't know why you don't wear them more. You should definitely do so. clock
Okay.
came.
Thanks.
But anyway, so my guys, I'm sorry. My opinion is the complete opposite. I'm
Oh
not even lying.
no.
I first of all, I listened to the audiobook. I didn't read it. I didn't really read too many Star Wars books. I got to be honest. I normally listen to the audiobooks. I like the sound effects, like the music, that kind of, like the audio performance as well. So this was Mark Thompson. If anyone's familiar with the audiobooks, he's a regular. And I do quite like Charles Soule. He's probably done my favorite comic run in the Canon era, with obviously the Vader series. I thought it was great. I really don't like it. I thought it was so dull. I forced myself to finish it. I wanted to tap out within the first third. I like the first 3 or 4 chapters until the Jedi came. I could have just, I felt like stopping. Like I thought it was so boring. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but they introduce characters every single chapter and kill them off within the chapter. And there's so many characters. Like and when they do introduce the Jedi, no character development. Yes, they're on missions. Yes, they're doing the Force, but you don't understand. Like, you don't care because they're just flying through this mission. And I just found it very dull. There's the best part for me. I did quite like, for some reason, the Wookiee Jedi. And I like the way he was explaining, his diet and stuff like that. Like, I like that stuff. When it world builds, when he's explaining, they were in some kind of canteen and there wasn't any meat there, and he's kind of eating the fruit, and he was kind of monitoring his behavior. He didn't want to go to kind of animalistic and aggressive. I like all that stuff. But the way they fly through these characters, like, you don't know anything about them. They're just kind of saving the galaxy in this constant "we are all the Republic" stuff. Yes, it's very overly positive and things like that. I don't really like that, to be honest with you, in terms of a book. In terms of, because some of the books that hopefully we're going to talk about at the end of the show, and on another show when we talk about the Legends book, they are literally make your hair stand up on your arm or the back of your neck. Like, it's like some of them books are like watching like The Empire Strikes Back, but you're just like not looking, in terms of audiobook anyway, you're just like not looking at the screen, or you've got your eyes closed. That's how amazing and intense these books are. This ain't it for me. Light of the Jedi, it's not like, for example, this is the first book of this whole kind of new era. It's supposed to grip you. It's supposed to be like, oh my god, it's amazing. Like, I just like, no, this is just not it for me. So I understand, like, a lot of the reviews are quite positive. I'd say it's 50-50, to be honest with you, in what I've seen anyway. And I understand why people are positive about it. It's a very positive book, positive message. It is building a new kind of era, but it's just not for me. Basically, I'm going to wait for who's the next author? Is it Claudia Gray? Right? Is she the next next one
This is
dropping?
Cavan Scott, if I'm pronouncing his first name
Yeah, the
correct.
book's like out right now, right?
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the next series.
The next one in the adult run
Yeah.
of the High Republic is it's going to be called The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott. That's what I was checking the.
Okay.
That's what it
Yeah, the
looks
covers
like.
and stuff. Yeah. So I'm gonna wait for. I think Claudia Gray. I'm pretty sure she is doing
She is
Yeah, I
doing one
think
as
she's
well.
doing the
Yeah.
third, I think.
So I can normally I trust her with her books and stuff, so I'll wait for hers. But if I get another one like this, I'll probably tap out of this High Republic stuff, because there's literally dozens of other books that are absolutely electric, fantastic storytelling, and this just isn't for me. So
I'm totally with you there. Totally with you. It's definitely not gonna break my top like 5 or 6. That
No way.
maybe not, yeah. I'm with you. It needs to. Kind of what I was originally thinking is, like, I wish this book would have come out like 3 months ago, and then we could have had some stuff to build on, because it's not what you want, right? Like, we could have had this during The Mandalorian. I feel like we could have had this to, like, be a nice pairing alongside of it, like a nice fine wine or something, even though, just to introduce you to the High Republic, and then drop all this stuff, because to drop a comic book, another novel, a young adult novel, all at the same time, it's a lot. But we have time. We'll get through it all. But let's get to it. The main event, our top 3 canon novels. Whew. We love lists here. We're real big on lists, okay? You might as well call us We Have the List Ground, okay? Lists have the high ground, and that's what we are here. This is going to be our top 3 canon novels. I'm excited to see what we all break down. I think you guys are going to be a bit shocked by my top 3. Maybe not my top 1.
I have a little cheat on my third one, because I guess with the canon novels, the third one technically is not a canon novel, but it is canon. You guys will know, but I have a cheat.
All right, well, go ahead. Start with your cheat, number 3. We'll explain the rules real quick. If it doesn't really matter. It's top 3. It's top 3. So then no rules. No rules. We're just going through it. So go right on ahead.
Why We Love Star Wars, the
Good
great
shout.
moments
Good
that built the
shout,
galaxy
actually.
far, far away.
I
By
did
Ken
not
Knox.
even think of that. Great shout. Yeah. That was a clever shout.
I think any Star Wars fan needs to read this book. It really brings you back to all of the moments on the title, Why You Love Star Wars, and goes by one of the greatest Star Wars podcasters, Ken Knapsack. If you haven't listened to Force Center, go listen to Force Center. Him and Joseph Scrimshaw always say speculate responsibly when they're talking about Star Wars, because they always come at it from a viewpoint of like, yes, we might want this or this to happen, but if what we want doesn't happen, we're not going to be angry with it. We're just here to listen to the story and see the story. And they love Star Wars so much. And so you just have that in this book. And the funny thing too is, even Ken Knapsack was talking about how he made an error in the book about the name of one of the ships, and he was so upset about that because he's that big of a Star Wars fan that he was able to correct it when he did the audiobook. And so it's really funny that like there's that type of moment that just shows you how great this book is that you have someone who loves Star Wars that much sharing his love and showing you exactly why you should love Star Wars as much too.
Gotta love it. Ken is a freaking icon. Is an idol. I've been watching Ken for 5 years, definitely almost more than 5 years now. It's been forever. Feels like it really has been forever since I've been watching the schmoes. And when he got that, I was like, oh, pre-order immediately. Got it. I pre-ordered it immediately, and it's a great gift to get for people. If you don't know what to get someone who loves Star Wars, get them that book. It's so good. It's one of the best bathroom books of all time. And you just sit there. It's got super short chapters, but it's like Ken. You can hear it in his voice, and the audiobook is so good too. And I actually just got it on Hoopla the other day.
Oh, it's on Hoopla? Because I keep trying to look on Libby, and it's not on Libby.
I think it's on Hoopla.
If it's on Hoopla, you just made my day, Colin.
I got you. That's what we do around here. Bogz, you a fan? Of course you're a fan.
I haven't read it, to be honest, but I wanted to. I just never kind of got around to it. But yeah, great shout, Saul. Like, everyone's, obviously Ken Knapsack's a great voice in the Star Wars kind of, online community. Definitely check out his podcast as well. But yeah, like there's definitely a book I want to read. He loves everything Star Wars. So yeah, that's definitely a good pick. Definitely a cheat, because obviously it's not a canon book, but it's a good cheat.
Everything that he's talking about is pretty much canon in the book.
It's true.
Fair enough.
Bogz, give us some canon. Your number 3.
Okay, so if I can just say quickly in terms of canon books. So upon doing research for this, I forgot how many I haven't read actually, because I think they've released dozens of books basically, right, in the canon timeline, and I don't think I've read 10. I've shockingly, I was going through it, and I've probably have a list longer that I haven't read that I want to read than that I've actually read. So I need a lot of catching up to do. So I don't think my list is the greatest, I'm being honest with you, but it's just from the limited ones that I've read. So my number 3 is Dark Disciple. Anyone have that? No. Okay, so I've
read it though. I know, I've read it though.
Exactly. So it's basically based on 8 unaired episodes of the Clone Wars. And the main characters are, so I'm not going to spoil it specifically, but the main characters of the book are basically Asajj Ventress, Quinlan Vos, pretty much against Camp Dooku. They team up. Good twists and turns. You learn about Quinlan Vos and his whole abilities, and they team up and also kind of fall in love as well. And you also learn about the just basically builds a lore around Dooku as well, and how he's kind of his fall kind of from the Jedi and why he's done it and what his political kind of strengths are, is how he falls in with the Separatists. And you just see kind of Ventress's kind of flip-flopping, with the Jedi, with the Sith, and what she's going to do and where the story goes. And it has actually got a really emotional ending. It isn't perfect. I mean, the Asajj Ventress does flip-flop a little bit too much, I found, between the kind of light side and dark side, but it does lead to kind of good plot points. But overall, yes, a really fun book. It can get a little slow as well sometimes, but because you're basically the whole way through, I was thinking, how's this going to end? How's this going to end? Because it's going to end in a confrontation somehow, and how does it go down? So, yeah, really interesting book, and definitely worth a read. So that's my number 3.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the. Pretty sure they've released some like motion art of the sketches that they did, of the storyboards for the episode, and the story is just, I read it not so much as like critiquing a novel, but I realize that I'm reading an adaptation of scripts for a TV show.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's a good story. I would have been excited to see the 6 to 8 episode run of it. And maybe, who knows, one day we might see that. I mean, who knows? Soul, have you read this book? And if you haven't, does it interest you? And does the prospects of it interest you?
I have not read it, but it is one of those that is on my list. Very much like Boggs, as much as I have all of my books behind me, I have not read as much Star Wars books as I want to, and so therefore I need to fix that problem. I was looking at the very beginning of the book where it shows you like all the canon books at the front, and I'm like, wow, I haven't read as many Star Wars books as I thought. And it was one of those moments like, I need to rectify this.
Definitely.
Well, number 3 for me is going to be Catalyst, a Rogue One novel. One of my favorite books. Clearly, I put it on this list. I was really hyped on all the novels and stuff coming out at the beginning of all the movies.
Yeah.
And I was super on board. And most of my books are from the first couple release cycles of books. And this one in particular really expanded my appreciation for Rogue One. After I finished reading it, I was like, oh, this is a deep story. And if I'm not mistaken, it came out before the movie. And I read it before the movie. And I'm sitting there like, oh, word, look, there he is. It's my guy, Jin. He's made it to his moisture evaporator farm. Dang it, here they come. Here they come. And it's just like, man, like the way it was able to tie into the movie and vice versa and overlap and their stories, and it was one of the things that, like, people who didn't like it, I'm like, I guess I just watch these movies so differently, and this book is like the pure definition of me watching things differently than other people. And like, for me, I just can't not know it all. Is that kind of like unfortunate? Like, when watching and absorbing all this content, it's just like I have to know as much as I can to fully appreciate the story. And to me, this book kind of set me on a dark path of having to just know it all. Because once I got into it, I was like, oh, James Luceno, oh, you're so good. You're so good at writing the Empire. He's so good at writing all that stuff. Tarkin, of course, he loves all that stuff. It's so good. And the relationship between Urso and Krennic is just so good. Boggs, you're over there shaking your head. Yes, 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 yes. Are you a fan of this book?
I haven't read it, man. That's definitely one of these that I want to. That's definitely on the list.
Put that higher up on the list. Higher up.
Well, from the reviews at the time, I remember being nearly all positive. So yeah, I mean, you just said the big 3 there, like Tarkin, Urso, Krennic. Like, what's not to like it? And the politics of the Empire, what's going on and stuff. I definitely want to read that. I want to read it before watching Rogue One again, that kind of thing. So no, that's definitely one that I'm kind of I wish I have read. So yeah, that's definitely one on my list. But no, I've heard it's good.
It definitely makes Rogue One, the movie, like, even better. And like, I love that movie when I saw it, but then you read the book and it's kind of the context there of what happens before the movie, it makes it even better.
It's like the longest crawl of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, just like makes it so much better.
They're my favorite books. Ones that kind of fill in like, you've just, where a scene's finished and it's just like you wondered what else happened there or what happened just before that scene, that kind of thing. So it was, yeah, like, there, I just love that that world building that these books have. Like, oh, okay, that's what happened. Oh, I didn't think of that kind of thing. So they're kind of my favorite canon books anyway.
Well, that's all of our number 3. Soul, start us off with your number 2.
So we mentioned her before, Claudia Gray, and so we're gonna go with Bloodline.
Yes.
So, in real world sense, I'm very much into
So, do you
politics,
have
and
the actual books of these three? Your three picks.
the first one, my number one, I
Oh,
don't
I
have the
do. I
physical
could go
book.
get them. Should I?
What, say again, so? Your number one?
I said my number one, I don't
Yeah.
actually have the
Okay.
physical book
I was
of,
just
but
wondering. I found the only one. Like, obviously, do I have to look for the audio books as well? Like, no. No, sorry. Go ahead.
I have to live up to my name.
Yeah, of course.
But like I was saying, so in real world sense, I'm very much up to date with politics, and I've always been a very big fan of politics. And so the fact too, I love when you get into the politics of Star Wars. That part really fascinates me, and is an aspect that I know with certain people they don't like that part of Star Wars, but with me it fascinates me, and I always love reading about it. And so this one focuses on Leia, and then you have her in the new Senate, and you have another senator that finds out that she's the daughter of Darth Vader, and kind of just the way the machinations that happen there, and the way that people try to play off of that, and just the fact of, oh, this is your father, are you as bad as your father, things like that, going in, and just it's a very interesting story, and it really shows you too that sometimes you have to pay for your parents' sins, and even if you did nothing wrong in that sense. And so it's very interesting, and it delves into politics in such an interesting way, and especially for the Star Wars universe.
And Claudia Gray just writes Leia so beautifully.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna throw it over to Bogz for his thoughts on this as an airplane finishes
I
going
was going to
overhead.
say, who is it? Yeah, so it's another one I haven't read. Or I think actually I did start it, but I'm not saying it wasn't good on an audiobook. I just think it's not as they're quite harder to follow on an audiobook, the kind of political one. So I think I remember this was years ago, obviously, when it came out, but I think I remember stopping it thinking I need to get the book and read it, and I never did, basically. But yeah, it's definitely not what I have read, but I know what happens in the book. I know the plot lines and stuff. It does seem super interesting, obviously, how she's kind of dealing with the aftermath of the fall of the Empire, and kind of them finding out Vader's a father and stuff like that. So yes, that there's a few kind of layer books that I haven't read. I kind of wish I did. They've all pretty much got positive reviews, because she doesn't make that many appearances post Return of the Jedi, in terms of just the canon of Star Wars and books and things like that. So it's definitely something I need to fix up on. But yeah, Colin, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big political intrigue guy, and the second that you start throwing in the politics of it, like I'm in. And they just play better in books. It's just
Yeah, I think so.
not just audiobooks, but even the movies. Like if you take a lot of the politics out of the prequels and you really put them into like these kind of canon novels, really explain the workings of the Senate, how it plays out. This book does a fantastic job of really working out how the New Republic works, how it's structured, and really makes you appreciate it more when it gets all blown to hell in Episode 7. So I mean, yeah, it's pretty good, and again, it makes you feel a little more for these people. Bogz, over to you for your number 2.
My number 2 is A Certain Point of View, the actual A New Hope one, because I haven't read.
That's my number one.
Is it A New Hope one? Okay. So yeah, I'll well, yeah, we can still go, right? I was going to say delay it, but we'll just go. So yeah, I haven't read the Empire Strikes Back one yet, but Certain Point of View, like I just said before, my favorite canon kind of stories are the in between stories, or the if anyone doesn't know as well, this is based on 40 kind of background and side characters that fills in the kind of plot holes and answers of A New Hope. Things that may have kind of popped up, or you wondered over the years, such things like droids, what happens on the Tantive 4, that kind of thing. And particularly, the best, one of the best ones for me is Qui-Gon speaking to Obi-Wan when Luke goes to find Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, obviously when they're burnt and stuff, when his house is destroyed, what kind of Qui-Gon says to him, and he kind of as a Force ghost, and just little things like the stormtrooper that bumps his head, they have a conversation about that. And, just all these little things, that as well, like when the R2 and 3PO kind of Leia sends them to find Obi-Wan, and they're in that shuttle, and then they identify, oh, there's no life signs. But you find out like the reasons the officers didn't fire is because obviously the Empire has a reputation of being bad shots and things like that. So the whenever an Imperial officer fires, it kind of it tallies up, so they're kind of measured against their hit and miss count. So it gives some kind of backstory about firing and missing and things like that. So they didn't want to waste fire ammunition against his kind of ratio and things like that, because he would lose his rank, and he's a bit worried about what the other kind of stormtroopers would say, that kind of thing. So it just fills in little things like that, and I do love that, and definitely need to see the Empire Strikes Back stuff. So yes, it's definitely one for me, these kind of stories. Yeah.
And
So you mentioned it's your number one, yeah?
and I want to shout out to, kind of pretty much just echoing Boggs, but shouting out the audiobook for this. So originally I read it, and it's a great thing, but right now I'm listening to the audiobook, and just all the voice actors do an amazing thing. When Darth Vader is there, they actually have Darth Vader's voice. Like, they actually are bringing in the things that you hear from the original movies that you love so much. They're bringing those sound effects in. They're talking about a battle, and then you can hear the battle in the background as they're describing it. And so it's just, I have to shout out the audiobook for this. And like I literally just listened to like the first 2 chapters again today, because I was like, oh, we're talking about books, let me get the audiobook on Libby. And so then I got that one, and then immediately I'm going to follow it with The Empire Strikes Back, because I have not read that one yet.
I'm glad you had it as number one, because I don't think many people do in terms of the canon books anyway. They don't normally put this in their top kind of 5 or 3, but I think like this is my kind of thing. Like, it helps me understand the movies better. Like, it fills in the holes, and it helps you understand the side characters, because you always wonder sometimes, oh, what happened straight after that, or that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely love this kind of stuff. It could have been my number one, but I do have a different one as number one. So,
And
Colin.
not only filling in side characters, but it's also filling in thoughts not just from the rebel side, but also from the Empire side. Again, going to, like, I just listened to the first 2 chapters. The first chapter is the rebels. The second chapter is from the Empire side, from a stormtrooper that was there on the Tantive 4. And so, and kind of just like, and he was describing that when they kill us, they just see the stormtrooper. They don't see the person behind the stormtrooper. But when we kill them, we have to see them physically and see the death coming out of their eyes and things like that. And so it was like, I didn't even think about it in that kind of way. So it recontextualized some scenes that I'm always going to be rooting for the rebels when I watch those movies, but it shows kind of the gray areas there, and shows that like some people, like, they go into a war, and they, because of propaganda or because they don't know any better, they pick the wrong side. And so these are also normal people as well.
Yeah, I mean it's from a certain point of view, so it gives you that feeling to a T. Yeah, Boggs, I'm also excited to read the Empire Strikes Back one as well. Now I feel like I should listen to it instead, so I think I'm going to go out of my way to get the audiobook on Libby. Shout outs to our friends over at Libby, the greatest online library in these US of A's. And so my number 2, Lords of the Sith.
Damn.
Paul S. Kemp.
Damn you, sir. That's my number one.
All right, well then let's go. I'll go first. This book to me is quintessential Star Wars. This is the Darth Vader that I always wanted. Like, if they do a Darth Vader show, it better be this fucking book. Like, it really better be this book, because it is so perfect. This book, I'm not too big into spoilers on the books, because it's just so good. Basic plot line is that actually Hera Syndulla, his dad, Chin Syndulla, gets a reading on where the Emperor is going to be on a ship with not really know that Darth Vader is going to be there, because Darth Vader is really not too known at this time to everyone else. So Chen wants to assassinate the Emperor, and this is just Vader and the Emperor on a planet trying to slum it, trying to figure out where they are, what's going on. And I love Vader's inner monologue. that is what drives this story. That is what I love about it. The way he describes falling away from the machine, letting the machine do his job and letting the Force do its job, and falling into the Force. He's still Anakin to a point where he remembers like, yeah, I'm really good at this, but how am I really good at this and why? And just letting it all work. And it just makes him a better character. For me, it just colors in those little shades of gray where there is still some good in him, but it's not maybe for the reasons you think. Bogz, why do you love this book?
Yeah, I mean, you covered a lot of it there. To be honest, it's absolutely electric. I mean, I was reading a few kind of reviews about these as well, and people don't have this as number one for some reason. But I think it's by far the best book that I've read, the best canon book or audio book. Yeah, it's that obviously, like I said, assassination attempt by Cham Syndulla and all these people, all the Twi'leks and stuff. But Vader is a star. He's obviously with the Emperor. Their conversations are fascinating. His inner monologue is the best thing in the book. You're 100% right. You're learning about how much pain he's in the suit, and that the suit is built to keep him in pain. So he has to use the Force to kind of push back the pain. And so when he does use the Force, he's using the Force on himself to keep the pain at bay, and he's using the Force. So you never actually see him with his full power because he's kind of concentrating on so many different things. Little things like that you don't even realize. You think, oh yeah, obviously the way his legs are so heavy, and he has to constantly use the Force to help him kind of with the movement and stuff like that. So with his breathing, it explains how and why he breathes and what he feels like. The Emperor and him talk about Padme and the state of the galaxy. It's just and they're trying to survive. So they're again, not too many spoilers, but their ship crash lands on it's like a forest planet, a bit like Endor, like Jungle Star. And they're surviving through there, surviving against the kind of locals, against the animals and other species on there, and all together. And on the opposite side, Cham Syndulla and the rest of the Twi'leks, they kind of know that they're coming as well, and they survived, and it's also like building up to this kind of awesome story climax and stuff. So it just started. I remember the first kind of half, 3/4 are one of the best books I've read, and then it does kind of dive off a little bit towards the end. I do remember that, but the stories that you hear, and Vader being the star, self-contained story, but like the stuff that it teaches you, a little bit like Certain Point of View, it fills in a lot of these gaps and things that, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, or I didn't see it from his perspective. So yes, definitely a must read, especially if you like Force use, if you like the Sith, particularly in audiobooks. You hear the music, the themes, the characters, the voices, all that stuff. So definitely awesome books. My number one. So have you read this one, Sol?
I have not read this one. It's one on my list, but I was just thinking when you said back to tank is shout out to the chapter 2 back to tank reference that it has in the Light of the Jedi. And I was like, oh, I wonder if this technology will work. And you already know in the future. And I was thinking Vader basically is a plant because the back to tank was being created for plants. So I was like, oh, Vader's a plant now in my head. And I was making that meme in my head.
So yeah, have you read this? You haven't read it, right?
I haven't, no.
Okay.
Yeah, put it on your list. It's a good one.
That was my one. So have you done your 1, 2, 3? So I've done my 1, 2, 3.
So Colin's number one.
Yes.
Claudia Gray's Lost Stars, folks. The only book that should be at number one on anyone's list. This book is Star Wars. Like, if you're 17 years old, you are reading this.
Go get the book.
You are reading this book. You are like, this book to me is perfect Star Wars. It fills it. You want to talk about filling in gaps? This book fills in all the gaps. You want to talk about like the emotion of hearing like other sides of the story? This book is both sides of the story, and this book is sides that you don't get from every other Star Wars story. So when you're hearing about the Empire for the first time, and you're hearing somebody's perspective of what it's like to go to the Imperial Flight Academy, like, you have to realize that this is the first time we're really seeing like really what it's like to really be indoctrinated into the Empire and to be brainwashed and what these people go through. But really, like, hey, they killed like 1 million of our friends on that that Death Star, and that's like really not cool. Like that's like you see both sides of it, and now it's one of my favorite Star Wars stories. It's in my top 5 favorite just stories with this love story. It's just it's so good. So you seem to, of course, it looks like you've read it. Please.
I mean, what can you say about Claudia Gray? Like, she is just the master of Star Wars books, and just I love her so much. Obviously, I have her bloodlines over here, but just again, you're finding I like stories that make things a little gray. And as Boggs said this in a previous episode, is that if you like Star Wars, you also need to watch Cobra Kai, and how Cobra Kai shows the gray in there. That because in those original movies, Karate Kid, it's very black and white. Cobra Kai, you see the gray in between. And I think that's just encompasses this book perfectly, is that you're seeing that gray in between. And also think of the Mandalorian too, that one guy who was like, I was on the Death Star, goes, and then we killing blowing up Alderaan, we were getting rid of like tyrants. To him, that's what he believes. And so just the fact that you have that kind of explained in this book a little bit. And so I like books that actually go into the other side, and even if you don't agree with them or their methods and stuff, you understand them a little bit more.
Yeah, Boggs, have you read this book, and like what are like what's it, or have you read the book?
I have.
Okay. So it's just so interesting to see a turn, right? To really see, it reminds you of some of the Rebels stuff where they go and get some pilots from Rebels, and so this was just fun. I just love, like, I just love how fun, how it's paced. It's just too much fun. Like, what are your favorite parts about this book?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really remember too much of it, if I'm being perfectly honest. Because yeah, I remember it being fun. And like in the middle kind of ground, I'd put it with. Like yes, I do like the politics in these books, and in the audiobooks and stuff like that. Yes, I do like the pilot and pilot stories. You know, Rogue Squadron, these kind of stories. But I just kind of tend to warm more towards the Force stuff, the Jedi stuff. You know, the kind of the Force, Sith, and things like that. So in terms of books, because it just, I don't know, the way it sounds and things like that. So I never ranked it, you know, as high as the others. Maybe I need to re-listen or reread it. But yes, I definitely have read it. Couple ones that I need to give honorable mentions to: Heir to the Jedi. I thought it was really good. I need to really need Master and Apprentice, the Qui-Gon Obi-Wan one. I'm dying to read. I'll probably want to read some of the reread the Aftermath stuff as well. So yes, definitely they're ones at the least I need to reread and stuff. So, but yes, Master and Apprentice and Heir to the Jedi, definitely ones I need to check out.
The ones that I haven't read yet is the ones from the sequel trilogy. Again, like looking back at that thing where it was showing you like the canon books. So like Resistance Reborn and Galaxy Edge Black Spire. I haven't read those two, and I wonder if maybe for like, have you read them, Boggs?
I have not read them, but the one book that I have read that I want to comment on is the actual worst Star Wars book I've ever read, and it is Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad. So
It reminded me of those bad Halo books.
yeah, it was like obviously coming off that Battlefront 2 trailer was awesome. I thought, you know, we see the messenger droid with the Emperor and the Gina Gavankar character, Iden Versio. She looks great. She sounds great. The story seemed great. The trailer was great. We see the Death Star being blown up on Endor. I was like, wow, this book looks amazing. And you read the backstory of the Inferno Squad. You know, the three kind of troopers with the big black helmets. Starts off good. First quarter, maybe even first third, and then it just turns into some kind of coming of age thing with the other kind of Inferno Squad guys, the other stormtroopers, and it's so boring and dull. I'm pretty sure I stopped it. I was like, no, I've had enough of this. There's so many other books and audiobooks I've listened to. That is the worst Star Wars book I've ever read. So stay away from that one, to be honest. But,
the reason I brought up the sequel trilogy, the books in that area, I wonder if it will reconceptualize the sequel trilogy for you, Boggs, because You
I was
have
just gonna say,
that,
as far
I
as I'm
guess.
aware, that them books all just happen like before the Rise of Skywalker, so it doesn't actually do that. Because I did do a bit of research about that because I was kind of hoping that they would, but as far as I'm aware, they don't touch on them stories. So if they do, I might give them a read, to be honest. But as far as I'm aware, they stayed away from the kind of Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi stories. They were just like in between things that happened. But yeah, it's a good shout.
Well, we did it. We made our cute little list. We did a top 3. Next week we'll do our top 5 Legends novels, which that can get wide and expansive, and 5-year-old and 10-year-old Colin are going to come out to play. Who knows? We may even get some Jedi Quest books up in this bitch. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe little young adult Boba Fett novels. Who knows? Who knows? Folks, but we do know is we have the high ground, and this has been another episode of We Have the High Ground. Join me as always as Bogz and Soul. Bogz, where can the fine folks find you?
Yes, catch us here. Obviously, on We Have the High Ground of the Pop Culture Universe. Catch us on Pop Talk, normally every Sundays. Catch us on the Ultimate Shmana Show. We are live this coming Saturday this week, 1 p.m. Pacific. Check us out there. That's the last show on that YouTube page. It will be coming onto this page next week. And yeah, any your kind of favorite Canon books, drop it in the comments. What do you think of our reviews? Yeah, obviously next week we're going to do the top 5 Legends books. That's a big list. That I kind of always wanted to do. So yes, what are your if you guys, anyone watching, have any other kind of recommendations for us for lists and that kind of thing, please drop in the comments and let us know, and we'll be happy to do so.
Yes, do all of those things. Like this video. I'm gonna keep saying it. Like this video. We got lots of likes on this last couple of videos. A few hundred likes on these last couple of videos. So tell these folks where they can like you online.
You can follow me at SoulGovan on Twitter. You can follow me at soul.k.govan on Instagram. And then pretty much just all over here on the Pop Culture Universe YouTube channel.
We're all everywhere now. We are the starting lineup for the Pop Culture Universe, and we are here. And you can find me at _C Morris. This has been another episode of We Have the High Ground, and we will see you next time, folks. See you next time.